Hello everyone. In this session we are going to discuss about the digestion. So which comes under the first unit physiology under the paper 3 physiology, biochemistry and immunology. So under this subunit of digestion we are going to study about gross anatomy of human digestive system, mechanical and enzymatic digestion and absorption of proteins, carbohydrates and lipids, hormonal control of digestion and absorption, and last we are going to discuss about the ruminant digestion. So in this session mainly we are going to discuss about the gross anatomy of human digestive system, under that only the alimentary canal in this session. So before knowing about digestion we need to know about the nutrition. So what do you mean by nutrition? So nutrition, it is a process by which the procurement of the substance necessary for the growth, maintenance and activity of the living organisms takes place. So if you are taking good nutrient food, then only you will be having good digestive system and good amount of metabolism, and hence you will have maximum energy. So this nutrition, or it is classified by different types. So first one is autotrophic and heterotrophic. So in first type, the autotrophic, or it is also called as holotypic. So here what happens, the mode of nutrition in which the individuals are capable to synthesize their own food, then only we will call them as autotrophic organisms. Hence it is also called as autotrophy. So in that autotrophic organisms or type of nutrition, we are having two different types. One is photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. So photo means light. So here the individuals depend upon the light for their nutrition. Example, the green plants, euglena, and different types of bacteria like green sulfur bacteria and chlorobium. These come under the photoautotrophs. And next we are having the chemoautotrophs. So chemo means chemicals. So these individuals synthesize their own food with the help of chemicals. Example, sulfur bacteria, nitrate bacteria, etc. So these all come under the autotrophs, and they are of two types, that is photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Second type of nutrition, that is heterotrophic nutrition. So in heterotrophic nutrition what happens? The mode of nutrition in which animals derive organic material or the food material by consuming the bodies or the products. Example, maybe they can depend on dead and decaying plants or animals. So on that basis we are having three different types. One is holotrophic or holozoic. So second one will be the saprophytic. Third one is parasitic. So the first one, holotrophic. Here the mode of nutrition, individual ingest mostly the solid material. Example, maximum of the animals, they are holotrophic. Saprophytic, they depend on dead and decaying organisms. Example, maybe bacteria, fungi and also the protozoans. Parasitic, here the mode of nutrition in which the individuals derive the food from their body or the host. So usually that is called as parasitic. Here in parasitism what happens? One organism will be getting benefited and one organism will be getting or it is destroyed, I can tell. Examples can be the ectoparasites such as mites and lice, which are depending on the dogs and cats. So that can be a parasitic mode of nutrition. And coming to third one, so it is not much important, this is the mixotrophic. So here the mode of nutrition in autotrophic only, but it is present here what happens, mixotrophic. It acts like both autotrophic as well as heterotrophic. Example will be the euglena. So these are the different types of nutritions. So then what are the mode of nutrition? So usually in mode of nutritions, so they can be of herbivorous, they can be of carnivorous, they can be of omnivorous, and insectivorous, detrivorous and coprophagous. So these are the different modes of animal nutrition. So as you can see in the picture, the first at the right hand side, the left hand side, water is present. So in water is mainly natural source where the producers will be grown, like the algae and green plants and many small shrubs and all. So once with the help of sunlight, then only they are getting energy. So these small producers or the green plants, they are consumed by the herbivores or the insects. So once the insects are consumed, again it comes with the different types of consumers, like primary consumers, secondary consumers and the tertiary consumers. So once this consumption of the nutrition takes place from one level to the another level, and at last it is decomposed by the decomposers. So this is how the mode of nutrition in animals takes place. So I have already discussed these different types. Let's see about what do you mean by insectivorous. You know, the animals which feed on insects, like maybe frog, bats and lizards, they all are insectivorous. So detrivorous are nothing but depending on the dead and decaying organisms. And coprophagous, so here the animals which feed on their own fecus. Example, they may be rabbit. It happens in rabbit, they feed on their own fecus. So these are the different feeding types of modes. So I can tell the mode of nutrition in the animals. So then what do you mean by feeding mechanism? So here feeding mechanism may be of different types. So if they can, depending on the liquid feeders, or it may be of the macrophagous animals also. So liquid feeders, maybe it can happen in the form of diffusion or pinocytosis or blood mechanism. So these are the different types of feeding mechanism. So next, what are the steps of animal nutrition? So any animal, if it is eating, so it has to undergo these many different types of processes, that is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. So as you can see, the steps which are undertaking in the amoeba, first the food is taken with the help of the pseudopodia, it is ingested, and if it is digested, and later the food is egested, but later what happens, the absorption of the food has to take place and assimilation for its process of energy, and at last the egestion takes place. So these are the 5 important steps that takes place in each and every organism. So this is the step of nutrition. Now we will move to the digestion. So what is digestion now? So we all take food and that it has to be digested, but that food has to be converted into the soluble food material. So usually we take complex insoluble food material and that has to be converted into soluble food material. That is called as digestion. So as you can see in the picture, so the food enters inside the mouth. So it is nothing but the small representation how the food enters and how the digestion takes place in different parts of body. So these all steps we will discuss in detail. So next, here in digestion what happens, as the carbohydrates, lipids and proteins we are taking in the food, so that has to be converted into the soluble material. So carbohydrates are digested into glucose, lipids they are converted into the fatty acids and glycerol, proteins they are converted into amino acids. But these all will help in production of energy. So this digestion, they are mainly involved in 2 different types of processes. One is physical process and or mechanical, and along with that it is chemical type also. So these are the different types of reaction that happens during the digestion. Then the digestion is mainly of 2 types. One is intracellular digestion and extracellular digestion. So whereas in smaller animals like the microscopic animals, the digestion occurs inside the cell. So that is called as intracellular digestion. So intracellular digestion is correlated with some macrophages feeding. Examples, that is protozoans like amoeba. So here the food materials enters by pinocytosis or phagocytosis. So pinocytosis is nothing but cell drinking, phagocytosis is cell eating. So pinocytosis or phagosomes, or by the pinosomes or phagosomes, they enclose the food material when they are formed. So as you can see in the third picture, they are enclosing the pinosomes or phagosomes. And in the fourth picture, the down portion, so what happens, the phagosome is formed and later the phagolysosome occurs. So phagolysosomes, how it occurs? With the help of different types of enzymes. So after phagolysosome, or it is broken down and they are thrown out with the help of the pseudopodia only. So that time the excretion takes place, or the throwing out of the excess of waste. So this is how the intracellular digestion takes place in the amoeba. So next we'll see the difference between the phagocytosis and pinocytosis. So as I have discussed, the phagocytosis is nothing but taking of food. So during taking of food, the energy is utilized by the organism. But while drinking the water, because the amoeba, it is having semi-permeable membrane. Hence, water will move from higher concentrated area to the lower concentrated, or vice versa during that time. So that time the energy is used for during the pinocytosis also. So remember, phagocytosis is for food materials, pinocytosis is for water. But remember, the energy required for during this process or the phagocytosis will be much more when compared to the pinocytosis. So this is the difference between, or different types of endocytosis. Next, moving to extracellular digestion. So here the digestion that takes place outside the cell, that is called as extracellular digestion. The digestion takes place inside the stomach, but it is in an extracellular digestion, because it is also called as intracellular digestion as it occurs between the lumen of the stomach. It can be also called as intracellular, but usually we call them as extracellular digestion. So here it is advanced step, and here what happens, the evolutionary trend has been moving on, hence it is replacing the intracellular type of digestion in different types of animals, because the animals are possessing the alimentary canal and also exhibit the extracellular digestion, and digestion that occurs within the lumen of the alimentary canal. So here we'll be discussing what are the types, how in extracellular digestion takes place in the human. So first we'll be studying about the alimentary canal. So as you can see in the picture, the bird, first diagram, here the mouth, here the food is taken. You can see the digestion takes place within the digestive system, and hence it will be the extracellular. It is not moving into the single cell. But whereas in amoeba, in the previous picture, as you saw about the pinocytosis and phagocytosis, that will be intracellular digestion. So most of the animals, they follow extracellular digestion. So next, coming to digestive system of man. So here the process of mechanism of digestion can be understood clearly when you see the anatomical features of digestive system. As you can see in the picture, the first part, or the near to the mouth, when the food is entering, it has got the different regions. So once we are discussing about each part, I will be showing, or I will be discussing in the detail. So this is the diagram you need to draw during the examination. If they ask for draw neat label diagram of digestive system, they can ask only the alimentary canal, or also they can ask the different types of glands associated. So make a note on this and draw this diagram in your notes. And next, the alimentary canal, it includes mouth, tongue, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and rectum. So this is the more appropriate diagram you can draw, because that contains maximum number of namings, but you should know the namings. But if they ask you to draw the alimentary canal, please draw this diagram. So now the first part, that is mouth. The mouth is surrounded by lips and mouth cavity, or it is also called as buccal cavity, which contains teeth and tongue. The total number of teeth are 32, and tongue, it is muscular in organ. So usually tongue is attached to the posterior end and free end in the front. So we know the posterior end where our pharynx is located. So our tongue is located in that area, and the tip portion is left out free. And they are having papillae and taste buds. They are numerous in numbers. Usually taste buds, they are numerous in number. And tongue, which helps in mastication, deglutition, taste, speech and secretion of mucus. So these all type terminologies I will be discussing in the coming session, like when we will be discussing about how digestion takes place in mouth. So mastication is nothing but the mixing of saliva and making the food wet, and hence it helps in movement. Deglutition is nothing but movement of food from mouth to the esophagus or the stomach. So taste, speech and secretion of mucus. So as you can see in the picture, the mouth or the oral cavity, the upper lip and the lower lip, there the teeth are embedded inside the jaw. You are having the hard palate on the upper portion, and the lower portion you are having the soft palate, and teeth are of different types: incisors, canines, molars and premolars. And also you can see the uvula, which is bell shaped, which helps in moving, which acts like a bell inside your mouth, or it moves during the food ingestion. Next we'll see about the teeth. So these tooths are divided into three parts. As you can see in the picture, root, neck and apex. So root part, it is very much innermost region, and here the attachment of bone with the help of the cement, or I can tell the connection between the jaws, that takes place within the root region. Neck region, you can find it is the middle part and it is covered by the gums. Usually neck region will be covered by gums. And crown or apex, it is nothing but the upper portion. So where the teeth are present and it is externally exposed, through that crown region only you will be chewing the food. So these are the different types of tooth division. So the small cavity present within the teeth is called as pulp cavity. So during your young age you might have seen the cavity once the teeth is gone. So you can see the cavity where it will be filled with the blood. So it contains different types of blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, nerve fibers and the connecting tissue. And it also provides the nutrition to osteoblasts or odontoblast. These are nothing but the cells or the associated with the teeth. So these secrete dentine and ivory. So usually in mammals, the dentine is the layer of the inorganic substance. It is made up of 62 to 69%. So dentine is comparatively softer when compared to the enamel. So enamel is the another portion which is exposed, or it is the outermost region, and it is made up of 92% of inorganic substances. Hence it which makes the hardest part of human body. So these enamel is secreted by the different types of cells, that is amyloblast. So hence that is what it is made up of inorganic substance. It makes the hardest part of our body. So there is the differentiation of teeth. So morphologically when you are seeing, they are of two types. One is homodont and heterodont. So homodonts are nothing but the structure and the functionality will be similar. Heterodont, their structures and functionality will be different. So as you can see in the picture, the incisors, canines, premolars and molars. So the group of incisors, we can tell they are homodont because they look like same and they are having the same function. But when you compare canines with incisors, they become heterodont because they are having different function. So we all know the upper portion or the first region, that is the incisors. So incisors, what it will do? Incisors mainly help in cutting the food. So canines, they help in tearing the food. Premolars and molars, they help in mainly chewing and grinding the food. So this is the function of these different types of teeth. So next we'll discuss about the attachment of the teeth. So attachment of the teeth is mainly by three different factors, that is acrodont, pleurodont and thecodont. So acrodont are the teeth where they are attached to the free substances or free surfaces. So example, these type of teeth you can see in sharks and frogs. Pleurodont, these are the teeth which are attached inside of the jaw bones. So examples are lizard. Thecodont, that we can see in mammals and humans. So these are nothing but they are embedded inside the jaws. So these are called as thecodonts. So these are the different types of attachments of teeth. Coming to succession of teeth. So succession is nothing but how one type of teeth will come and how they are removed off or how they are replaced off. So there are three types. One is polyphyodont. So here the teeth, if they are broken, it can be replaced by number of times. So this type of teeth you can see in fishes, amphibians and reptiles. Diphyodont, usually the mammals and humans, we are having diphyodont because we are having two sets of teeth. One is milk teeth and one more is permanent teeth. So milk teeth will be coming first and they are replaced by the permanent teeth later during your young age. So when you are 5 or 6 years, so slowly the milk teeth will fall off and these teeth will be replaced by permanent teeth. And monophyodont, there are some mammals like cow, those are having only one set of teeth. Usually the teeth will not fall, they are permanent. So these are the three different types of successions of teeth. So you need to know about the dental formula. So we all know that the dental formula for humans, so the total number of teeth, there are 32. So how many teeth are present, that denotes the dental formula. It may be incisors, canines, premolars and molars. So there are 2 incisors in the upper jaw and 2 incisors in the lower jaw. So it makes 4. Right? 2 incisors and 2 incisors in the lower jaw. 4. Or you can tell the total 4 incisors you are having in the upper jaw. And 4 canines are present. You can make, with the help of your tongue, you can touch your canines which are sharper, and there are premolars and molars. So totally you are having 4 incisors, 2 canines, 2 premolars and 3 molars. So which will be, in upper jaw you are having 16 and in the lower jaw you are having 16. That makes 32 teeth. So this is about the permanent teeth. So can you find for milk teeth? So milk teeth, there will be no premolars. Directly molar teeth will be present. So 2 incisors, 1 canines, no premolar but only 2 molars. So that makes the milk teeth. So what is the total number then? Total number will be 20. So next we are having the pharynx. After buccal cavity, till now we have discussed about buccal cavity. Next we will be discussing the pharynx. So this pharynx is the common opening for windpipe and food pipe. So its main function is to transmit air from the nose to larynx and production of voice, and also transportation of food from mouth to esophagus. So as you can see in the picture, there are of 3 different types of pharynx. One is nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. So nasopharynx is the region where it is connected to the nose. Oropharynx, it is connected to the esophagus. Laryngopharynx, it is connected to the larynx. So these are the 3 different regions or 3 parts of the pharynx. Next, coming to esophagus. So slowly the pharynx is followed by the esophagus. So it passes the food from the pharynx to the stomach, and esophagus is the opening to the stomach. So as you can see in the picture, the junction of the esophagus and the stomach is called as the cardiac region. So this region where you can, here also you can tell this region is called as cardiac portion. So it is guarded by the cardiac sphincters. So sphincters are nothing but they are the blockage, or you can tell gateways So how in the dam they are closed to prevent the flow of water. So now if these cardiac sphincters are not there, if you make your body upside down, like head down and your legs upside, the food which is present within your stomach has to come out. So to prevent these type of action, the cardiac sphincters are present. So that is how the functions of cardiac sphincter. So next, moving to the stomach. So stomach is nothing but it is a J-shaped sac-like organ. So here the inner surface of the curvature is less curved and the outer surface it is more curved. And here the posterior end region of the stomach, it opens into the small intestine. That is called as pyloric orifice. So just remember these regions where they are connecting, because they can ask for 2 marks. What do you mean by pyloric orifice? So the region where stomach opens into the small intestine, that is called as pyloric orifice, and it is guarded by the pyloric sphincters. And the stomach is of 3 regions, namely fundus, body and pylorus. So fundus is the largest region, and pylorus or the body, it is the curved region, and later you are having the pylorus. So the pylorus is the sharp angle and it is less curved. That region is called as insecura angularis. So insecura angularis. The pylorus is also having 2 regions. One is proximal antrum and one more is distal canal. So here that ends with the pyloric sphincter. So we'll see in the diagram how the region of stomach looks like. So as you can see, the esophageal region, it is opening into the stomach. Slowly you are having the fundus region, body and pyloric region. So in fundus you can see it is less curved, and later the pyloric region is much curved. So these are the structures which are present within the stomach, hence it looks like completely J shape like this. So that is how it looks like, hence it is called as J shaped organ. So next we'll move on to the stomach region towards the small intestine. So stomach is followed by small intestine, and it has got 3 different types of regions, that is duodenum, jejunum and ileum. So we all know that the small intestine is the longest region in the humans, because it is made up of 25 feet length and or it is also 7.6 meters in length. So this much length, why it is made up of? Because it contains the absorbing organs or the absorbing structures called as villi. So if the length is larger, the food will travel for a longer time and absorption takes place for longer time, and that food will give you the nutrition. So that is why the intestine is much lengthier. And these regions, the intestine is lined up with the mucous epithelium. It contains 3 important structures, that is intestinal glands, folding region and intestinal villi. So these are the structures which come under the small intestine. Next, the small intestine is followed by large intestine or the colon region. So these regions do not have villi, but mucus secreting goblet cells will be present. So what is the function of these mucus secreting goblet cells? So in stomach also you will be having mucus because the stomach are having different secreting cells, and hence acidic condition will be maintained. To overcome this acidic condition, because our stomach is very much sensitive, and also there can be formation of corrosion. So due to that, the mucus lining will be present. And this large intestine, there are 3 different types of limbs inside them or within the large intestine. One is ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. So as you can see in this picture, So once the food is thrown out from the small intestine, it enters through the large intestine, and it also absorbs the water molecules, and absorption of water takes place in large intestine, and through the rectum the undigested and the digested food will be thrown out by the anus, by the anal opening. So this is how the digestion takes place, or the anatomical feature of large intestine. And at last we are coming to the last organ, that is villus. So villus are nothing but the mucous membrane inside the intestine, which produces the finger like projections. So the number are around 20 to 40 per square meters. So there are around 20, but how many are there? We can find 50 lakh villi per human intestine. So 20 to 40 per square meter per, that is micrometer. So in micrometer, like very small region, 1 micron. So in that you will be having 20 to 40. So these villi are rich in the lacteals, hence they contain milky fluid, and they are rich in fat content. So, and also they look like the brush like structure, hence they are also called as brush boulders. So the end product of the carbohydrates, proteins and lipids, they are absorbed by the blood capillaries in the villi. And the end products will be, you all know that the carbohydrates will give glucose, and proteins will give amino acids, lipids will give glycerol and fatty acids, and those will be transmitted or transported to the lymphatic system or into the blood. So this is the schematic diagram of villus, how the epithelium cells are present at the upper portion, and through that epithelium cells there are villi which helps in the absorption, and there are some mucus gland which secretes the mucus, and lacteal, that is the lymphatic system where the milk secretion takes place. So, and last one, that is the appendix. So the last region of the large intestine, it is ending with the appendix. It is nothing but the vestigial organ. It does not have any function, but it is having, or usually the appenditis means the removal of appendix takes place if you are eating much spicier food or much masalas and all. Usually that can be infected, so it will be operated, but usually humans can live out peacefully. So these all alimentary canal will be made up of these many different types of tissues. So that is histology. So usually it is made up of, see, mucosa, submucosa, muscularis and serosa. So this is the external diagram, how if you take the section of esophagus, if you take the section of small intestine, these are the layers how the regions are made up of. So usually in the first one, that is serosa. So serosa will be the outermost layer, and it is made up of thin mesothelial cells. And muscularis, it is formed by smooth muscles, and it is in the inner circular region and outer longitudinal region. Submuscular region. So submuscular region is nothing but they are formed by loose connecting tissue, and also contains nerve, blood and lymphatic system. So in duodenum region, the glands are very much present in the mucosa. And mucosa, it is the innermost region, helps in the secretion of mucosa, and small finger like foldings, villi are present, which helps in absorption of the nutrients. And there are microscopic projections, those are called as microvilli, they are also helping in absorption. And there will be presence of lymph vessels, which helps in the secretion of lacteals or the milk like substances. And mucous epithelium, it has also got goblet cells which secretes mucus and helps in lubrication. So this is how the 4 different layers which operate within our alimentary canal. First one is serosa, muscularis externa, submuscularis layer and mucosa. So in this session we have discussed about the digestion in humans, very important. Here the anatomy of human digestive system can be asked for 7 marks, and also the section of the histology, that is serosa, muscularis externa, submucosa. So this is important to your syllabus point of view. So that's all about this session. Thank you.